dental person who gave us some perspectives from the emergency world of medicine and her journey. Now I'd like to introduce Mr. Omar Lodge, who, for as much as I know, I don't have a lot of information on you, Omar, sorry, I didn't give me much, but I understand we're going to get another perspective from the people we treat, a patient's perspective on what he's gone through and some journeys that he has taken and would like to continue, possibly with some guidance and our help. I'm not sure, but Omar, come on up. I'd like to introduce you to the group.
Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah. Okay. My name is Omar Lodge, and I started an organization called Right to Grow about 2.5 years ago. And when I tell people what it is, they automatically think it's about children's diets and food and kids in other countries, developing countries, having a right to grow. It should be about that. And it actually should be about food and diet, but really it's about orthodontics. Some people say it's a bit of a destructive organization because we're putting a ban on cervical headgears. In my opinion, it's a constructive and destructive operation because by putting a ban on cervical headgears, and I'll get into why, we also educate parents and patients on what good orthodontic treatment is. Let me go into my personal story and what got me into this. So, when I was 11 years old, I was slightly buck-toothed. I didn't even know it. My mom told me I was. We went to our dentist, Dr. Harvey Bridges, and he said, you know, I'm going to see you from an orthodontist. He's the head of orthodontics at UBC. He's the top guy in the country. Go see him. We went to see him. And he said, yeah, you're buck-toothed. Your upper jaw is overgrown. Your lower jaw is undergrown. And we have two options for you. Extractions or headgear. Cervical headgear. And cervical headgear is a better option because it'll pull your lower jaw back and pull your upper jaw back and let your lower jaw catch up. And my mom and I said, well, we don't want extractions. And I asked him, what are the side effects of cervical headgear? And he said, there are none. Your lower jaw might overgrow, there's a small surgery to correct that, but it's a safe appliance. So I wore it. And a few months after wearing the headgear, I started to wake up more tired. Got to the point where I'd be brushing my teeth at school, where I'd be in bed, and my mom and my sister were in the car. They'd brush their teeth, they ate breakfast, they had their showers, they exercised, they put in paper, they planned their days, and they were waiting for me. And that got worse and worse and worse. And I always thought maybe there's something wrong with my attitude. Maybe I'm lazy. Maybe I just don't understand sleep. In high school, I'd sleep in every recess and every lunch hour in the nurse's room. In university, I'd be taking naps during my 3-hour exams. I'd go to the library. I'd try to study. I'd fall asleep. And I'd wake up with a spoon back on my shoulders and make certain libraries closed. Or I'd be in a lecture, I'd be in a math lecture, and I'd try and take a nap. I'd have to, and I'd wake up in the philosophy lecture after. Having a job was impossible. I would be scrounging for a minute or two of sleep in the morning. So I'd carry my toothbrush with me on the bus, I'd do my tie-up on the bus, I'd run to work, eat breakfast while I'm running. I go to the bathroom 10 to 20 times a day to pretend I had a bowel problem when really I want a nap. If this were a one-on-one conversation, while you looked away to check your phone or to take some notes, I would have done this. Just for 5 seconds to get to the next 10 seconds. And it became a way of life for me. And I didn't know any different because it started when I was 11 years old. In 2010, I started getting these weird night sweats. I'd wake up drenched, just drenched. And my girlfriend at the time said, Omar, you know, you stop breathing and you thrash. So I went to see a doctor, and he put me on an an oximetry test. And he said, you know, it's inconclusive. I don't think you have anything wrong. I think you're restless. You can meditate. So I tried meditating. I got worse. In 2013, I woke up one morning and I could barely see, I could barely move. And I got really scared. I went to the doctor. He sent me to the hospital. I had an OSA test overnight as a polysomnography. And my ENT, a few weeks later, said, Omar, this is pretty serious. You've got severe OSA. You're choking 76 times per hour in the ground. And you're a slim guy. You shouldn't have obstructive sleep apnea. But let me scope your throat. So he took a camera, put it down my throat. And he said, Omar, I'm afraid to tell you your airway is a quarter the size it should be. And I said, well, why is that? And he said, your maxilla, it's too far back. It's sitting back where your airway should be. And it's trapped your lower jaw as well. We're going to need to put you on a CPAP machine right away. And eventually, if you want to get off the CPAP, you'll need to break both jaws and pull them forward. Immediately, you can imagine what I thought about. In my head, I went right back to Dr. Lear's orthodontic room, and I remember the conversation we had about silver lining. He said it was a safe appliance with no side effects. We're just going to pull your upper jaw back a little bit. After that consultation, I went straight to UBC. I went to the library. My cousin was a student there, so I took his password, and I pulled every single paper I could on cervical headgear, going back to the early 1900s. From major journals, American Journal of Orthodontics, American Journal of Dentofacial Orthopedics, and every single journal, year after year after year after year, said the same thing. Cervical headgear does more harm than good, causes both jaws to grow down and back, causes excess vertical growth of the lower third of the face, tips the palatal plane, creates clockwise rotation of the lower third of the face, and that these consequences are disastrous. And I believe it. I know they're disastrous. Because when both jaws grow back into the airway, I know what happens. So I took all those papers, and I decided I'd share them with the public. I summarized all of them, and I said I'm going to start an organization. I'm going to ban cervical headgear. In fact, I'm going to ban orthodontic growth stunting. You guys are actually in the real estate business. The airway is the most precious piece of real estate in the planet. It cannot be encroached upon. Pi r squared. R squared. You modify the airway by a millimeter, you have exponentially changed airflow. When you retract, do you calculate pi r squared? I don't think you're taught to. But what does the Dentist Act say? What is the first line of the BC Dentist Act? The health and well-being of the patient is of primary importance. So how long can you live without food? 30 days. Without water, 10 days. Without air, oxygen, we're talking seconds, right? Maybe a minute at most. Therefore, if the health and well-being of the patient is of primary importance to a dentist, your job is to make sure the person breathes properly. The teeth come next. It's in the syntax of that sentence. The health and well-being is of primary importance. Well, it then follows that the ability to breathe is your top priority. And if you're retracting structures that involve the airway, you are violating the health and well-being of the patient because you are impacting their ability to breathe. And a millimeter is significant. But this isn't new news. When I looked at all those papers about cervical headgear, I said, what did the profession know about a cramped maxilla? What did they know about the vertically grown face? And let me show you something. All these papers, by the way, in this annotated bibliography is going in Dr. Terry Spall's textbook, volume 4, the treatment of maxillofacial dysfunction, the sleep apnea, TMJ connection. I don't know the name of it, but the organization has gained a lot of traction. I get parents writing in all the time saying, oh my God, my son is on a headgear, what do I do? And I say, I'm not a dentist, and at the risk of being sued, take it off. Take it off. One night is one night too many. Other people tell me, Omar, it's not really used that much anymore. One headgear. One kid wearing headgear is too many. There should be no kids wearing headgears. No kids should be subject to their normal growth being stunted. But let me read to you this one little paper here from 1915. By Myers, okay? This one here. Abnormal development of the dental arches results in abnormally developed nasal passages. Nasal respiration will be difficult when the jaws are underdeveloped. Dr. Angle, the celebrated orthodontist, stated as priorities for orthodontics and in order of importance that proper occlusion must be established first, then hardening of the jaws, and lastly, improvement of the facial lines. To Dr. Angle's list, I would make the first priority as the establishment of proper breathing through the nose. Breathing through the nose rather than the mouth is critical to our health. Widening the maxilla lowers the vault of the palate, which deepens the nasal cavity, and in many cases, this corrects deviated septums. In 1915, an orthodontist said Angle had it wrong. It's not about the teeth, it's about the airway. We are here 100 years later, saying the same thing and acting like it's new business, like it's new technology. It is not new technology. It is old technology. It is old business. We have to admit that there is a war going on in our industry. And I'm a part of it in this industry. We have extractionists, people who attract, and we have expansionists. There really is no standard of care. There's two diametrically opposed standards of care. They both want to straighten teeth, but one destroys the airway and one doesn't. And who's caught in the middle? Children. Children bear the casualties of this war, not the professionals. So I'm here today to ask you for a few things. Number one, I want you all to call for the ban. Call for the ban on orthodontic stunting. The cervical headgear was invented around the same time of the proliferation of the corset. It came about from a time when people thought that they had to restrict and restrain the body to meet an ideal. It was a Victorian way of thinking. They valued restraint. They took little girls. They said, you know, your daughter's ribcage is overgrown. We're going to put her in a corset. We'll stunt the growth of her ribcage. Forget the organs in between. It'll make her look good. Your kid's upper jaw is overgrown. By the way, I have not read one single medical report of an overgrown upper jaw. It's called maxillary hyperplasia. I've never, ever, ever seen a kid with an overgrown upper jaw. I've looked at a lot of kids. But they still did that. The same thing they did to girls with cages. They did, I'll stop. They did to the upper jaw. So go to my website, righttogrow.org. Sign my petition. Spread the word. And talk to your politicians. You can do it through me because our petition goes to politicians. So let's make the world better.
this spokesman for the general public sees the value of forward growth, full development of the airway, the face, and the problems that come with retraction. And it's a good lead-in for this afternoon when Dr. Bill Hang talks about orthodontic non-retraction. What's going to happen in the coming post-retractive era? And it's not just headgear, but it's any retractive mechanics that would lead to the same thing.